Hi, this is PJ Harzma, and you're listening to the FSF Podcast.
The show that was warned not to disappoint the Grand Inquisitor. Well, we all see how that turned out.
Oops. Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 2015. He'll know that when he puts on the red shirt and joins the crews of the Enterprise in their struggles against the network executives, that he didn't leave his family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has his back, and what's left of his sci-fi show.
All right, guys, our guest today is a content creator, a writer, a producer who's been involved with companies like Red Bear Films, Couch Soup. He's also the writer of the Softwire novel series. He was the producer of the Alan Tudyk-led series Con Man, which you can now find on Amazon Prime. And by the way, seriously, folks, if you haven't stopped what you're doing to watch Con Man previously to this, ask first what's wrong with your life. Secondly, ask when can you make time to sit down and watch this amazing show, because, well, you just need to watch it. We'll leave it at that. We'll talk about that more here in just a couple minutes. Either way, I am so excited and just happy to welcome PJ Harzma to the FSF Podcast. Welcome to the show, PJ.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I was really excited when you called or emailed. Do we say that anymore when you called? I don't think anybody calls anymore because you have to call people first or email to ask permission to call them. So I think we just gave up. So thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, I was excited when you said yes. When I got the email back, I'm like, guys, look, he said yes. He's gonna do the thing. So yeah, I was pretty excited about that because
you had lots of big people in the show. I feel privileged.
Well, we're always excited about every guest that we have come on the show because there's always a reason why we want to talk with you. So when somebody says yes, it means that, yay, we get to talk about the thing. Now,
let's talk about what's the thing we're going to talk about?
Well, there's a couple different things. The first thing, so I mentioned Con Man in my introduction of you. Now, I only got introduced to that show during the quarantine, the lost year of 2020. And I didn't know it was a thing before that. I didn't know it had happened. And one of my friends, his name is Jason, he said, you got to check this show out. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, what else was I going to do? I wasn't going to go hang out with anybody, right? I was stuck at home. Might as well. So I put it on and I was dying of laughter within like the first 5 minutes of the first episode. Alan Tudyk is A, phenomenal, B, hysterical. And, the whole scene of him sitting on the toilet with somebody trying to shove a magazine underneath the stall for him to sign it, to me was fantastic.
You want a secret about that scene? You want a secret about that scene? So when we were shooting that scene, Star Wars was trying to get him to be to do Rogue One, and he was like, oh, I'm doing this, I don't know, and even me and Nathan were like, dude, you gotta go do Star Wars, what the hell? And they took that scene that we shot with him in the bathroom and took him out of it and put his robot character in there doing it. So I actually have footage of that whole bathroom scene in Con Man with the robot. What was the robot he played?
K2SO.
I forget the call letters. K2SO is in toilet. I have that footage, but I've signed so many legal papers that I'm never allowed to show up. But if you ever come and visit, I'll show it to you.
That is.
I will be on a plane.
Now you know. Yeah.
Honestly, just knowing that it exists.
It's pretty, and it's not the version that they ended up using. It was a much more emotive robot because he had different eyes, and the final version they used different eyes. So it's even a different version of the robot.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I know that you can't really see everything that's behind me here, but most of those Funko Pops are all Star Wars related. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, so the fact that that there's something out there with K2SO in it that I haven't seen.
I have one coveted Star Wars gift, and that was when Alan was leaving Rogue One. He was leaving the set, and he was under a spaceship, and he snapped a piece of the starfighter, whatever it was, off and brought it home to me. And I actually have a piece of one of the ships. It's over there, I think. I always meant to get it framed and put it on a wall, but I never did.
Yeah, I think I'd fight over that. Anybody came near it, there'd be a fight. Get away from my gadget. That's mine. So
it's a piece of broken plastic. Shut up.
It's my broken plastic. Shut up.
Alan stole it fair and square.
So the reason I wanted to talk about Con Man, I'm glad to have heard this story because that's phenomenal. But I was hoping that you could tell me how this all came to be, because I know that it was crowdfunded and all these things.
Want the long story or the short story?
Yes.
So I had, I wrote the Softwire books, right? And I was into advertising back then. I had a production company, and I had really become the Joe Pickett of commercials. I would get mad at people. I would yell at them. I just kept raising my prices. People still kept hiring me. And then for therapy, I had this big studio in LA. And for therapy, I was sitting upstairs and I was journaling. And on my journal came this character. And make a long story short, I got a writing deal. I fired everybody. I quit. I was going to be J.K. Rowling, even moved away. And that didn't work. It was the 2008 depression, and I couldn't make any money. And the same time, the buyer at Barnes and Nobles and the buyer at Random House, they both got quit at the same time, and my book disappeared, and it was like hell. And I called a buddy of mine, and I went back to advertising, and then I was producing again, and I was working for Amex and Best Buy, and then everybody found out I was producing again, and I got a phone call from Alan, and Alan said, "Hey, I'm making this thing. I want you to shoot it." And he brought it to me, and I read it, and I read the bathroom scene, and I was like, God, this is the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. And he goes, "Okay, I want you to shoot it." I go, "Well, I'll help you make it. Let's make this thing. I want to produce it." And he goes, "Oh, okay, sure." So the very first movie poster, the one where you see under the umbrella, him and I were like in the back of my car, and we would stop by, because in LA, Paramount's got this big wall that one of the studios, and we would run there and get him under the umbrella, and I would shoot it, and we'd come back and put it in the computer, and then be like, "Oh shit, I should be wet in the inside." So we'd go and do it all over again, and bring water, pour water, because we have no permit, so we're just doing this running around. So we got that going, and he's got his poster, and then we both put some money up, and we shot that little piece. And then, because Alan's who he is, we went the traditional route. And so we had an option somewhere, and then we had another. We first had an option with the lady that canceled Firefly. We thought that was ironic. And then we ended up, and we were going to go with Legendary. And we're driving to the studio to sign the deal, and it was a typical Hollywood deal, and it wasn't a very good deal. And I knew that Alan wasn't happy. And we're at a stoplight on the way there, and I said, "Alan, I know the Firefly community really well. You guys are just awesome with those peeps. They've helped out with the Softwire." I'm like, "Why don't we just do this ourselves first?" And he was at a moment of weakness, and he said, "Sure." So we didn't sign our deal, and we went, and that was when crowdfunding was going crazy. And we went, and a month later, we had $3.2 million. And then from that, we created the first season of Con Man. And then Lionsgate came in and gave us a huge deal to do 8 seasons. And the rest is history.
That's cool. Yeah, I read up a little bit about it, and because I sat down and watched, I like binge watched the 2 seasons, especially because some of the episodes are as short as 13 minutes. Some of them, I think the longest is maybe 21 minutes. I think there's a couple that were 21 minutes. But they were all such watchable lengths with no commercial interruptions. I mean, you could binge watch 6 or 7 episodes before you even realized it, and you're like, "Oh, this is great." Plus all the cameos. The cameos in that show are out freaking standing. Yeah, I mean, the whole time I was like, at first I was like, "Oh, this is just going to be a funny show with Alan Tudyk." And then all of a sudden I was realizing I was doing cameo hunting. I was like, "Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. There's another."
There's so many. I bet you there's ones you didn't even catch.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like Seth Green's wife's in there. Leanna Vamp's in there. Like there's all these peeps from our circle that's in there. And they sometimes just have the tiniest little roles, and everybody wanted to be part of it. It was fun. God, this is my best thing I've ever done in my life. I love that show so much.
I loved Will Wheaton. He was just so annoyed on the airplane. I laughed.
He came up with that idea of that. He was so good. Yeah.
It's funny is I actually watched the episode with Will Wheaton on the airplane right after we interviewed Will Wheaton. Like it was just next in my lineup of the Con Men show to watch, literally the day that we interviewed Will Wheaton, and I'm laughing so hard at it after the fact with the This is ridiculous. I literally talked to him half an hour ago.
There's so many cameos on that airplane. If you look at who the stewardess is from Supernatural, I mean, there's so many cameos on the airplane. But do you remember the scene? It was in season 2 where Nathan Fillion gets pulled over by Michael Trucco. Trucco's the cop.
Yes.
We have 2 hours of footage of that scene.
Oh,
There's a scene where Nathan gets the gun. And Nathan's and Truco's trying to, oh, you handcuff me now. Come on, you handcuff me. And then there's ones where they're running around going, no, you stop first. You stop first. It's just the best footage that never made it. And then the scenes
killer
that where at the cons where Nolan's doing stand-up in the con, 3 hours. We have 3 hours of footage of him doing stand-up.
Well, the behind the scenes stuff has got to just be fantastic for this.
Yeah. There's so much.
That's wonderful.
I feel like you could just release the Con Man extended footage and we would all just sit there watching all of the raw footage and laughing our butts off.
I'm a buyer if you do. I'm just saying.
Right? Yeah.
I'm a buyer.
All my Vimeo account.
Oh, goodness.
It's all there. It's all good. It's so good. It's so much fun. Both my daughters are in it.
Cool.
And they're yeah. So there's so many. You could just we should do a watch party where we just point things out in the.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Party. Yeah. There's so many different things, but yeah, I loved it. I miss it. Wish we could do more. It's a great show.
Oh, goodness. Well, kind of going off topic of Con Man a little bit, you've spread yourself out through several different disciplines. You've writing, done content creation, producing, and even the CEO can be added to that list. So is there one of those hats that you feel more at home with, more comfortable with? But
I'm a Gemini. I gotta do something different all the time. I'm trying to do the ones now that just make money. I've learned the hard way in life that I should have stuck with a few, but I jump around as soon as something's done. I move on to the next one. So I'm kind of settled in on advertising lately. I just need to. I'm getting old, guys. I got to start putting some nuts away for when I'm older. So I've really doubled down on the advertising side. What am I most comfortable with? It's just being on set. I love to be on set. If I was a 19-year-old kid, I'd be a set rat again. I'd be the kid that just sleeps in their car and then just goes to set, there for breakfast, there for dinner. Like, I just love being on set. And I think that's the reason why I've always stayed so close to Hollywood. I make a joke. I go, I make money in advertising and then I go and lose it in Hollywood. But it's just, and that's why Red Bear does, even as an agency, we still have this production company and there's equipment everywhere. A buddy of mine called him and goes, hey, my friend's selling a 5-ton truck. It's full of grip lighting. I go, I'll buy it. And on the other side of this wall here, I just have all the carts and everything from a 5-ton grip truck. And it's just, I don't know. I just like equipment. It's crazy.
You'll find a use for it somewhere, somehow, I'm sure.
Some people collect.
Yeah, I offered to people, if you're making a movie, you bring a truck, come roll it up. I'll give you the best rental rate you ever had.
Nice.
Yeah, some people collect Funkos. Some people collect production equipment.
I do. I have a lot.
The difference is,
think about that.
Size.
Production equipment is way cooler.
I got some Funkos back here that need a new home. We got some signed ones back in. And they're just sitting here.
I know a guy.
Do you know anybody?
I don't think he has any shelf room left.
I will make shelf room, Kathleen. You shush your mouth.
I've been in that room. There's not more room for shelves.
We got some signed ones that are left over from that Australian fundraiser we did with Liam McIntyre and that. So we got nice ones. We even have the signed sword from a Conan, that great big sword. We've got that sitting around back there too. Yeah, people love coming back here and just roaming around and then opening cupboards and looking into nooks and crannies and going, is that what I think it is? You're like, yep, it is. That is that.
Nice. That would be me. Ooh, what can I find over here? Ooh, what's over there? Oh, look. Yeah, that would be me.
Can I have this? That makes me
think of the show The Librarians, the one with Noah Wyle, where he ends up working for the library in New York, and he's walking through and he's like, is that Excalibur? Yep. Yes, it is.
Yep, that's it. It's right there.
Yeah, except for I would be more like trying to do a Jedi hand wave. You don't notice me.
Right.
Walk away with it. You saw nothing.
I'm going to somehow smuggle this giant sword out of here.
Yeah, you saw nothing. It'll be fine. PJ, one of the things that we've come to realize over the last couple of years of doing this show and having people on the show is that content creation is not always an easy thing, because we've not only do the interview side, but we have a live show on Monday nights. We do a Wednesday afternoon live where we review something or do what we call our top five, a lot, 5 at 5. And one of my favorite quotes about content creation, or about anything really, is that we do this not because it's easy, but because we thought it would be easy. And that quote perfectly sums up how I began this journey in podcasting, in writing, even, and everything else that I've done, because I thought it would be easy. So, why not? But in your journey as a content creator, an advertiser, or anything else in life, but let's focus on your content creation for Couch Soup. What has been one of the biggest lessons or challenges that you've had to learn about and adapt to and really be able to overcome to be able to be successful in what you do?
It's a tough question because, when I grew up, I started as a fashion photographer, and back then you couldn't rent stuff. You had to own it, right? And so there was always a price barrier, and there was a quality issue. I remember one time I was pitching back in the 90s, I was trying to pitch a series to the internet about a serial killer and an alien on a road trip. And I was going to do it on this thing called the internet. And we were going to shoot with video. And they said to me, they literally said, nobody in the world will ever watch something shot on video. And look at us now. Creating quality is what sucks the time out of our lives when it comes to content creation, because we always want it better and bigger and sound better and look prettier and be lit better. I'm a lighting fanatic. And, can I get on a bigger camera, better camera, different lens, this move, that move, what piece of equipment. And then the next thing you know, you just lost 2 years of your life. The content that we see in mass production on social media and such, these people that were born with iPhones in their hand, they don't have that barrier was never there for them. And they had unbelievable tools right away. And it was just the only thing holding them back was their imagination. And the hardest one is the ability to say, my stuff is just as good as the next person, and I deserve a space on the shelf. That to me is the biggest problem for most content creators. But we overproduce the hell out of everything. And that's where it takes too much time. And it's done out of pride. It's done out of, the love of doing it. I talked about using all the equipment yesterday. I just love equipment. But the more you have, the more work it takes, but the easier it is to do better things. I equate making a movie with building a house with a butter knife. The more money you have, the less you have to use the butter knife. And it's the same thing. It's if you got to not get addicted to all these things around you. And a good story is a good story. You just telling it around a campfire is enough. But yeah, the content gets bogged down in our quest for the perfect piece of content, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. And for me, you hit on one of the things that I think I struggle with the most currently is my stuff is just as good as the next person, and it deserves to be on the shelf with them. And so, I think yeah, go ahead, please.
That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think because, there's always a little bit of that self-doubt in the back of your mind of what I'm creating going to be enjoyed by more than just me. I do this because the people that I have on the show are people I want to talk to because they've done something that I appreciate, or they're working on something that I appreciate, and there's something cool to their story that I think needs to be heard by other people. And so I like that aspect of storytelling and getting to know people and talking to them about the things that they're doing. But there's always the worry in the back of my mind that level of content is not the type of content that people are looking for anymore.
I tell people that you don't have to make everybody happy. You just have to make enough people happy. And we're on a planet of 7 billion people. You can't tell me you can't get enough people to dig in what you're digging. I mean, come on. There's so many people, and you just got to keep at it, and you'll get the audience. It's noisy lately. It's really noisy. Everybody and their uncle, got online over COVID. It's noisy. And I'm seeing that problem the most right now is how does something break out without being overly sexualized or overly stupid.
Right.
That though the good content is hard to get out there. But my wife does MarisaGreco.com. She has the Mystical Guide on the YouTube channel, and it's high produced content. And she gets into these doldrums where she doesn't want to do it anymore because there's not enough people watching it. And I'm just like, you got to keep going. And you don't have to make everybody happy. If somebody says they don't like this, who cares? They're not the person for the show. Move on. You
Right.
don't need to make everybody, but then you have to define what's enough, right? Like, if I want to make it my full-time job and only do that, well, enough might not be enough to feed your family. So that's the part you got to define enough. What do you need to live on?
I think the definition of enough is always, it's kind of like a moving target. It's one day the enough is here, and the next day enough is up here, and you're trying to make sure that that the realization of those two slopes isn't a slippery one. So
yeah, but you also got to give yourself credit if you look at it as a life journey. I mean, I'm in the entertainment business. I love watching movies and I do it every day. But it's, you're out there creating, you're not just consuming. And I do think that I tell that to my kids all the time, don't just be the consumer, be the creator and drive the story. And I think that in and of itself has a very life fulfilling, it just gets you going on the inside. So you can't let yourself get down if there's just not enough people paying attention. There's ways to work on that, but just keep at it. And if you love it, you'll love it, and keep doing it. I'm going to open a pizza and wine bar one day, and I don't care if it's the only people that go there are me and my buddy, because I'm going to have enough money that I'm just making it for me and my buddy. That's the enough for me. Because God, he makes good pizza.
There you go.
So, and I drink a lot. I mean, I'm on a good streak now. I've tried to pull back. I haven't had a drink in about 16 hours. So I'm doing good.
That's a good streak.
That's good.
I have you just slightly beat, but not by much. So
yeah, it's hard. It really is hard. It's just like, and you deserve it. You deserve to be there with everybody else. End of story. And you just got to beat that in your head. You got to write that affirmation down in your morning pages every day. Write that shit down. You deserve to be on that shelf too. And hold yourself to it.
So on that sort of note, I was actually wondering too, that because of how many content creators there are and how sometimes it feels that it's so much. There are so many things being thrown at you. Do you struggle with jealousy from other content creators, other people thinking that you've stolen their show, that you've stolen their ideas?
I never have jealousy over content creator. And I tell my kids that too, because, and I never shit on somebody's stuff because they automatically get 6 out of 10 for me for just doing it, right? Like right away, you get a pass just because you put it in, you had enough courage and you did it, you got it out there. I'm a very big believer in that. When it comes to all the trolls on the internet that compare you or put you down and stuff, like, I do not read that. I don't even let it near me. I know everybody has a rule. No one's allowed to read it to me. Drew did it once on an episode and kind of came up to me on the side and like sort of, did it quickly, but I just don't need to that garbage doesn't help with my creative path on anything I do. So I would never be jealous at somebody else. And as far as being accused of copying, I mean, the internet, when you look at those family channels, they copied like crazy, and I think that's gone. That's gone. But we are very protective, also because we deal on things that can be much more litigious. But, I always say, make sure you got your paper done. You got to do your paper, right? It's like, even with this here, you got to send me something to sign to say that you're allowed to use my likeness. The recording thing you can try, but if I became an asshole and went after it, get that thing in paper. And I'm bad with paper. I'm bad. I'm just like, hey, you're my buddy. Come on, we're just doing this. Nope. Get the paper done. Got to get the paper done.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
I just know that we've struggled a little bit with well, you stole my idea. It's like, no, we talk pop culture. You talk pop culture. Deal with it. Yeah. That was the thing that was popular this week.
Pop culture. I got an idea. I got an idea for a pop culture show that I'm thinking I'm going to pull off. I'm going to do. I just gave Drew 7 different ideas. We have no time to do them. We have no time whatsoever. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Just block those people. screw that.
Oh yeah, already done.
Oh, that's already done. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a that ship has sailed. So
Yeah, that
I don't
that
have
is
time
no
for that.
longer the SS Friendship. That is now just the SS Goodbye.
exactly.
Well, there was when Conman came out the day before we launched, the guys from Supernatural had Conmen, and they were going out the very next week to crowdfund. And it was just like, dude, that's a coincidence. It was just and they knew it was a coincidence. They hadn't told it, it was what it was. They were doing Con, and then someone had Con Woman, and then somebody tried to sue me for Con Man, the video game I made, because they had a Con Man game based on Bernie Madoff. And it was like, we weren't even the same worlds, but he tried to sue me.
That's
So,
okay. That's actually kind of funny because they're not. Yeah, it's not anything even identical.
even close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
get your
hey,
paper. Just
yeah. But
learn what Hollywood does.
did Bernie Madoff had kung fu grip on his action figure? Anyway,
Did not. When I have that doll right over there, and I found the remote control the other day when we were cleaning up the back. Tell you, this is just we could just turn this place into a museum.
I love it. All right, so PJ,
On
one
the
of the
wall
things
of my office, I have the nameplate for that was taken off the Firefly ship. It's on my wall in my office under my light plate. People turn the light on and off; they don't even know.
Oh, great. Googly muggly. Yeah. You need to come visit and steal a few things. I mean, I need to come visit. All right, PJ, one of the things we love to know about our guests is when they come to the show is what helped make them who they are, how they got to be who they are, all these different things. What is the origin of their awesomeness? This is part of the story that we like to hear. So in the story of PJ Haarsma, what is the earliest influence in your life that you can remember that directed you to become the person you are today?
I didn't start out to be this. I quit med school. I have a degree in science. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be a surgeon. And I think the thing that I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was a model, and I quit school and I became a photographer, and I opened a modeling agency, and here I am. I mean, honestly, that would be the thing that changed everything. And, if you really want to get the impetus behind it, I was only being a doctor for my parents. I was just doing it for them. There was never any passion in it for me. I actually would pass out at the sight of blood. I did it my first year in school. When you have to take blood out of each other, I passed out. Dean was like, "You got to move on." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I was always had a creative spirit in me. I won an art contest in grade like 2. I used to sell my art on the street when I was in middle school to make money to buy hockey cards. I was always an artist. And then after that, I really got into production and loved the set stuff. And the next change, the next evolution of me was the writing and unlocking that level to my avatar. And that opened up a whole different set of doors. And then the next part, I think I'm in a new one right now where I'm kind of settling into this role of business owner and running a business and learning that. I have 28 employees that rely on me now. And the art side is kind of slipping away. I don't get to do it much, but then people will pull me back in. So me and my buddy, Frank Bedore, the guy that made Something About Mary and wrote The Looking Glass Wars, we spent the weekend together and we're kicking our books up again. I'm going to write the Softwire. I'm going to write the 5th in the Softwire series.
Nice.
And he's working on another LGW book. And then we're also looking at doing this. We've had this idea for this high school story and this high school game for years. So I always come back to it, no matter how much I deviate to take care of my family and the people I love, with money. I can't take that artist out of me. And why I have it, God, I don't know. There's nobody in my family's an artist. Nobody promoted it. I used to have a band. My parents would tell the guitar teacher never to come to the house. I mean, nobody supported art at my house. So
that's interesting.
Here I am.
No, I was just saying it's interesting that you would be able to overcome those things, which would seem like for most people to be insurmountable hurdles because they weren't getting the support that they needed to be able to move forward.
Or it's
So
just blind ignorance that you don't think you can do it, right? Like you don't think
Well, I
you
mean, there's
can't
that.
do it. Like if I look back now and someone goes, "Oh, we're going to write 4 novels," I'd be like, "Are you crazy? Do you know what that takes?" It's just the stupidity of not knowing that just makes you do it. I mean, I've made a movie, I've made TV shows, I've had my stuff in art galleries. The only thing I don't have is a song on the radio. I just
Well,
can't. It's
there's
just
still
like
time.
yeah, there's still time. There's a challenge to fix something or to put it together, or as I say on Redbird, make things better. I'm always into that. And when we did Con Man, it was the same way. Alan had the same spirit. Is like, how do we do this better all the time? We're always trying to make it funnier, and he would rely on me just like make it look good, and we did. And together we had to have the best people do it. And when you have a team of people like that around you, and that is pure by luck, magic happens. That's when the real magic happens. So yeah, I miss Con Man a lot.
Yeah, we miss having it, new episodes of it. So, anytime you guys want to bring it back, we're down with it. Just throwing that out there. Just go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe when Resident Alien's done.
There you go.
Okay.
So thinking about all that makes me wonder about this. So one of the questions I also like to ask about people, or ask people of rather, is, sometimes when we're looking at who and what a person is, we look at the shows that kind of help shape them or form them. Like if you're looking at a story of me and you're like, well, what were his impetuses in the sci-fi world and getting into the things that he got into, it would be Star Wars, hands down. That's where my nerd home is. That's where I fly my geek flag. Even today, that's, I'm every Tuesday night right now with Ahsoka coming out 9:00. I'm sitting at my TV, phone is in silent mode. Nobody gets to bother me. I'm watching Star Wars. That's just the way it is. Is there a place where you fly your geek flag these days where you're just like, man, this really has a hold on me? Something outside of your creation realm?
Yeah, well, I know how things started for me because I dropped out of English in grade 10. I hated writing. I didn't like the books they gave us. And out of sheer boredom, up at the cottage in Canada, it was raining for 3 days. I read a book that my mom had bought from the Five and Dime, no cover on it. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it was Shining by Stephen King. No, it was Carrie. It was Carrie. It was Carrie. And that got me into the horror genre. And I was anything came out horror. And then I read Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game. And now, cool. when that book came to me, now I was into the science part of my life, and I was really, if I did it all over again and I had to stay in the sciences, I would have gone into like astrophysics or physics of some, because outer space to me that's where I hang my hat. So although I'm not a Star Wars nut, I mean, I remember going to seeing it with my grandfather when it came out in the movie theater. And I loved it. The second set I didn't, it ruined it for me, but I still love science fiction. I'll watch anything. Like anything comes my way, I'll watch it. I'm watching right now Invasion, season 2 Invasion on Apple Plus TV.
Yeah,
Have you seen that show?
Yes.
That's really good. And then inside the sci-fi genre, it's the time travel books. I'm really big into that. Okay. But I'm not into one, I'm not like a Star Wars versus Battlestar Galactica, or a Dune versus Lord of the Rings or something. I just love it all. I just love the world building. I love the imagination. I want to go. I tell my family, if aliens arrived, I'm out. If they're looking for people to go home with them, I'm out. I'm sorry, guys, I'm gone. I'm just fascinated by what's off this blue marble.
I love it. Yeah, I used to be a Star Wars versus Star Trek guy. I was always, but in the last couple of years, Strange New Worlds really kind of ruined that for me. And now I'm actually finding myself enjoying Star Trek as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Strange New
That's
Worlds.
A real good one. But I started with Star Trek, so that was my first sci-fi, and then Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits. That's got me into that stuff. But I did start in the horror world, so I was kind of demented and a little tweaked. But then I was an Orson Scott Card freak. So mine was more books than movies, because when in the late 60s, early 70s, the only science fiction was on television. Star Wars was the first real movie, the first sci-fi movie in the theaters that you got to have that experience with.
Right.
And I was a little older then. What year? When did that come out? 77?
77. Yeah.
79? 77?
77.
So it's 13. I was 13. So I'm 13 in 77, and Canada, you're already drinking, trying to get girls. I mean, your friends are trying to grow mustaches. So we're moving away. We're moving away from those there. But yeah, I love Star Wars too. I'm not like Drew, my partner Drew. He is freaking nuts about Star Wars. And
I get it.
Nathan took us to it's like I can't go to Disneyland anymore because when you do the VVIP, it ruins you. Right. It's like when you fly first class on the Emirates Airlines, you're like, I cannot fly anything else again. So not only have we done things like had the whole California side park closed down for us to do whatever we want to do, we went to the Star Wars, and where they make your own Star Wars, you make your lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
We had the place to ourselves. So we went in there and we just had the run of the land making these lightsabers. I came back with this many of them into the studio, and I don't think Drew spoke to me for like 2 weeks. And they were over here in the room just sitting there, and I never did anything with them. I just left them there. And then the other day I get a text. He goes, "Where are the lightsabers?" And I'm like, "I took them to storage. They were in the way." He's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Why do you need it or something? Do you want me to go get it?" He goes, "No, I just wanted to use it for something."
Nice.
Just wanted to play with it.
Just, it's a nice distraction.
Just want to take it out. Just want to take my lightsaber out.
People don't just have lightsabers where they can reach them at any time.
Yeah, I'm gonna mount them on the walls. I think I got 6 of them. I'm gonna mount them all, like one from every faction, so however many there are. So I'm gonna take them and mount them really sexy on the walls.
That would be fantastic. I have 2 mounted above my window. And then the other one, the one that I can actually reach.
What kind of mounts do you use to keep, like, is there a special mount for them you can buy?
The one that I bought is just like a plastic sword mount.
Oh, that would work. Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah.
But one of the other recommendations I've seen, if you want to hang them vertically, is if you use like the mop holders.
Oh yeah, because it would just snap in.
Yeah. Or the guitar holders. I was thinking, but I was thinking about putting them across. But yeah, maybe they should be vertical. That would be better. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I've got 2 of them horizontal above my window, which is really cool. But then the other one's my daughter's that I just have where I can reach it to show it off on the show.
Smack her over there. She gets out of line.
Exactly. Give her the full Anakin. So, all right, PJ. We like to end our show on what we call our silly question. You can answer this as silly or as serious as you like. Now, we've been asking this particular question for a little while because we came to realize that, well, as an adult, people stop asking you this question, and we think that's stupid. We think it should be asked more often. PJ Haarsma, what's your favorite dinosaur?
I'm going to go old school. So you got to go with the T-Rex, right? Because that's just like the alpha dinosaur and that. But where my heart lies is in the Brontosaurus.
Cool.
And I think it's from the Flintstones, growing up with the Flintstones. And remember how they would have the the Brontosaurus burgers. I'd be like, wow, they're your friends, but you're eating them. That's weird. They'd have the big ribs that would come out. So I always had the affinity for the Brontosaurus. And I remember in the first Jurassic Park, when they turn the camera around, right, and they look and they see them coming through the I'd be like, well, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, where he sits there and he turns her head to look.
Yeah.
It's one of those questions that you get asked a lot as a kid, and then when you're an adult, people are like, I don't care what your favorite dinosaur is. Like, why not? It's exciting.
Dinosaurs are cool. We should talk about them.
We should know about the dinosaurs.
We have a lady at work and her kids are really into dinosaurs. And I asked them that question once, and I think they're still answering me.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I bet.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
My daughter can list off her favorite dinosaur, my husband's favorite dinosaur, my mother-in-law's favorite dinosaur, mine. It's like the kid who can't say yellow correctly can say Parasaurolophus and Ankylosaurus, but
I'm a
it's
little
important to
alone
her.
in the nerd world in my house. My daughters aren't into it. I've tried to get them into science fiction. I've got my oldest into horror a bit now. My wife's not into it. I'm kind of alone in my nerdom at home. I'm by myself. That's why I love the communities like these and the communities we create with Couch Soup and that, where it's just a lot of people that can just nerd out on this and nobody gives them shit for it. And that's what
Exactly.
I love.
Exactly.
yeah, I get
Part of
that.
the reason why we do what we do here.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Oh goodness. PJ, thank you so much for being on our show with us tonight. Where can our viewers and
pleasure.
listeners go to find out more about your work and what you've got coming?
Well, I mean, there's two main things. I mean, unless you're trying to hire an advertising agency, there's two main things. PJHarsman.com if you want to see the Softwire books, but they're also on Couch Soup. So the Softwire books is if you don't know, they're the world inside Con Man, the Rings of Orbis, is based upon my books. So the lore, which is parallel to Firefly, because we couldn't use Firefly, is based on my Softwire novels. So those are back out in print. You can get them at Amazon, or you can get them at couchsoup.com and give them a read. You'll love them. It's about a group of kids that get orphaned in outer space and sold as slaves to aliens. Really uplifting, kind of feel good thing.
Heartwarming.
And then we
Right.
had, yeah. And then for geeks like us, we have the couchsoup.com, and it's a community of people that love to talk about pop culture, and they write, and it's all written by fans, and it's grown into a huge community, and it's getting a little respect around town. They're getting all their press licenses or credentials when we go to cons and stuff. And we've got a few shows on there now. We've got like Trailer Talk and Cracked, and we have one right now about is Ahsoka? Am I saying it right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ahsoka.
The new Star Wars, Ahsoka.
Yeah.
We've got a new show on that one too, and they're all by fans. So it's not there's no corporate crap. It's really good. So couchsoup.com.
Love
There's memberships. You can do it for free, or you can join. Oh, I was a story I wanted to tell you about what we've just been talking about. Do I have a sec? Can I tell the story?
Yeah, we have all the time you need.
So in Couch Soup, right? It's really about fandom, and it's really a place. And there's a lot of Firefly people, a lot of Con Man people that came there, and then the Retro Replay crowd came, and it's a really positive community. In our memberships, it's free, but you can pay up to, I think it's $100 a month for a membership, and they all have different perks. So the one at the end, you get to have every month, you get to have a 1 hour phone call with me and Drew, and we are basically hired to help you get your project to life. And so this one kid, Tyson Hadfield, came in, and there was a few people in that, but Tyson is really aggressive with it in a good way. And so he pitched us his idea. We helped shape his idea. He's just this kid in Utah that has a dream about being a director in Hollywood. And last week, he got to come to Hollywood and shoot the teaser for his project with the crew of The Rookie. And we put it all together for him inside Couch Soup, and it was just part of his membership. So
That's
fantastic.
It's a fun place to come and hang out. So it's called The Adventures of Chuck Valentine. And it's basically this mental illness problem, but this guy believes he is the werewolf, a cowboy, and a superhero. And it's sort of like this Sybil's thing going on in his head.
Ooh.
So
interesting. Okay.
He's so happy, and he was crying on set here talking about it, because it was just like his dream had come true by signing up to a pop culture website.
How cool
So
is
those
that?
things make me feel good. Yeah, that's super cool.
Totally not over here making notes about all of this, but yeah. Okay.
Right? Yeah, not at all. Well, we will
Advice
definitely
from PJ. Got it. Okay.
We will definitely link Couch Soup for everybody, because I'm already, as you're talking, scrolling through the website with you.
It's a really super cool website, by the way.
It is a really super cool website.
Totally
I
not
get
jealous
lost
about
in
how
the
it outclasses.
hours.
Yeah. Totally not jealous how it outclasses our website, but that's not the point. But yeah.
We're not gonna have jealousy with other content creators, Tim.
Yeah.
That's not how we
belong
roll
on
on
that
the
shelf.
FSF Popcast.
We belong on that shelf. All right. Guys, want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like PJ Haarsma here today to have funny moments and these amazing stories for you guys to be able to listen to. Please subscribe. It helps us well more than we can ever really tell you. And go check out Couch Soup. Honestly, you won't be disappointed. And if by now we haven't convinced you to watch Con Man, come step closer. We will hit you over the head with a mallet and force you to watch it at some point because it's freaking phenomenal. Amazon Prime, that's where you'll find it. Anyway, if for whatever reason you are not happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department. That, of course, is Bobby. That's Ray Nearly's convention agent. Sure, she's not evil, but Bobby also doesn't have an honest bone in her body. So just know that when you submit your complaint, and we suggest triplicate because, hell, if she loses it, she's going to find a way for it to be your fault. But just know that you can be under the spotlight for receiving the retribution for being wrong. She will be, however, assisted at all times by her lady screamer stunt double. They will find a way to pay back the offending party, but also in a way that works best for them in the long run. So honestly, probably better not to complain. Just suck it up, Buttercup. And we know that we suck, so it's okay. We're still kind of almost working on it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. PJ, thanks so much for being on the show. And that's going to wrap us up for the FSF Popcast. Goodbye.
Thanks for having us, guys. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Copyright 2023 FSF Popcast.
Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Popcast. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com. Original music by Jordan Michaels.